Jim Schultz here for Calculated Risk, and don't forget, before we get started, the best ways you can help us are liking the video or subscribing to the channel. Either one of those really helps us out a lot. So one of the pillars, one of the main things that we like to do are trade liquid stocks. We want to be trading the same markets that everybody else is trading. We want to be playing in the same sandbox that everybody else is playing in. But from time to time, we all get a hankering. Like from time to time, we all want to mix it up with maybe an illiquid stock, maybe a Micron, maybe a SanDisk. And so what do you do when you get into a market where the bid-ask spreads are really wide and you're not exactly sure where the fair value is? So that's what I want to talk about here in today's video. So let's go. So first and foremost, a quick refresher on the bid-ask quote. So don't forget, whenever you see a market, you could be looking at a stock, you could be looking at an option, you could be looking at a future, you could be looking at a lean hogs contract, whatever. There's always going to be a bid price and an ask price. And the bid price is essentially, hey, if you want to sell your stock or your option or your future, that is what you can get for it right now. If you want to buy this stock or this option or this future, whatever, this is what you have to pay to acquire that asset. You're always going to notice that in normally functioning markets, 99.99999% of the time, the bid price is going to be lower than the offer price. And the reason why this is the case is because the other side of our trades, like the counterparty who's making these markets available to us, has to get paid. Like they have to get compensated somehow. So they're able to buy on the lower bid price and sell on the higher offer price. We have to be on the opposite side of that transaction. So that is how we understand a bid-ask spread differential at the outset. But going one step further, when it comes to actually executing a trade, we don't typically like to buy the ask price or buy the offer, same thing, or sell the bid. We want to work somewhere between the bid and the ask. And so that's why we typically like to anchor right around that mid price between the bid price and the ask price. That's where we try to get filled. Whether we're buying or we're selling, starting at that mid price is typically a really, really good spot. And this is a key when you're dealing with really illiquid stocks. Because when you're working with a really liquid name, so like Apple or Amazon or SPY, obviously, then the bid-ask spreads are already so tight, they're 1 penny, 2 pennies, 3, 4, 5 pennies wide, that it's like, all right, even if you miss the mark really badly, like you're not going to get a terrible fill on that trade. Like you don't have to worry about getting a bad fill, even if you miss the fair value really badly, which is really hard to do for reasons I'll get into here in a couple of minutes. But the markets are so tight, there's really not much room for error. But when you're dealing with a more illiquid stock, again, Micron, SanDisk, I guess in today's market. I mean, you're 50 cents wide, you're 75 cents wide, you're $1, $2, maybe several dollars wide. And so now the stakes appear to be a little bit higher in terms of figuring out where the fair value is for that specific stock or that option. And so in these markets, starting at the mid price is always a good idea, but there's actually two additional tools that we can draw on to help us really try to dial in where the fair value might be. So let's hop into Tasty Trade and let's take a look. Okay, so here I am inside of my Tasty Trade platform and I've got Meta pulled up. The first thing we want to understand is that across an option chain, when I'm looking on the call side and the put side, if I'm matching up two vertical spreads, the sum of the prices across both sides has to equal the width of the spread. So for example, if I was looking at Meta, you've got Meta at 555. If I wanted to sell an out of the money put spread to be bullish in Meta, if I sold like a 550, 545 put spread, that's selling for about $2. So the price on this out of the money spread is about $2. Well, if I wanted to analyze the opposing call spread on the other side, because maybe I actually have the call spread and it's a little bit in the money, all I need to do to kind of, give myself a more well-rounded analysis around, the pricing of the put spread and the pricing of the call spread is just move these strikes across the chain at the same levels and watch what happens. So if I move my 550 from the put to the call, if I move my 545 from the put to the call, then you see the debit now is about 288. Now again, I mean, the markets are, they're not super wide, but they're a little bit wide. I mean, they're about $1 wide. And so you've got a little bit of width there. This is not the most illiquid name, like a Micron or a SanDisk. We'll look at those here in just a second, but this is also not a super duper liquid name. But what you're seeing is I'm 210 on one side, right? And then I'm essentially 290 on the other side. Well, add 210 and 290. Don't worry about the credits and the debits right now because that just matters whether you're buying or selling the spread. It doesn't change the pricing dynamics objectively of what's happening in the market. 210 plus 290 is $5. Well, look at the width of the spread. It's exactly $5, and that is what you should expect to find. And so when you're looking at the pricing of a given spread or even a given option, specifically spreads in this context, start with the out-of-the-money option first because these typically have tighter markets than the in-the-money options. You can actually see that right here. You can see that this 550 put is about 60 cents wide and the 545 is about 55 to 60 cents wide. And then you go to the other side and you see it's a little bit wider. So now I'm about 90 cents wide and I'm about 80 cents wide. So the reality is the tighter the market, the truer the midpoint is going to be as a representation of the fair value. So one trick that's kind of cool to have in your back pocket is understanding that the spreads across the chain at the same strikes have to sum to the width of the spread itself. Start with the out of the money. That's going to give you a really true indication of what that option is selling for, that spread is selling for, I should say. And then you can kind of back into what a fair value price would be on the other side of the chain. And then the next tool, let's actually take a look at Micron because this guy's absolutely been in play for, it feels like it's been a few weeks now for sure. Let's open up the August options with 56 days to go. So you can see these markets are significantly wider than what we just saw. If I go to, a 40 delta put, that's a couple dollars wide. Now this is an $1,100 stock, and so it makes sense that the spreads would be wider for that reason alone. But then you look at the call side, these options are super wide. $3, $4 wide. One thing that can be really helpful in understanding, what is a fair price for one of these standalone options. Now, again, you would need a fairly large account to trade an option in this, even if you were just buying the option and had, limited risk. Still, you're buying, $130 of extrinsic value. That's going to be $13,000. That's a pretty significantly sized trade by anyone's definition of significantly sized. So if you look at the different drop downs that are available to you, obviously you have your bid price, you have your ask price, but then these two are customizable from the standpoint of you can change delta and extrinsic value. Like I can change delta to whatever I want it to be. I can change extrinsic value to whatever I want it to be. And the nice thing that's really helpful for understanding really wide markets is looking at the extrinsic value column. Like for instance, look at this 40 delta put. It looks like the extrinsic value, it's obviously moving as the market moves, but it's about 147, just over 147. Well, remember, this is an out-of-the-money option, so it has no intrinsic value. So this extrinsic value that the extrinsic value column is pointing towards is landing somewhere between the mid price, between the bid price and the ask price. And I know that this price is 100% extrinsic value because it's out of the money. So now I'm putting the pieces together. If I wanted to, let's say I wanted to sell this put, maybe I had, $500,000 account, $1 million account, whatever, I would probably go right at this price to begin with. I would probably start my analysis right at whatever the extrinsic value is. And then from there, you can do your discovery. Like from there, you can go ahead and penny it up or penny it down or nickel it up or nickel it down. There's so much competition for our orders these days that you don't have to worry about getting a really bad fill, as I alluded to earlier. There's so much competition right now. It's very, very rare that you would get a really, really bad fill on a trade. It certainly can happen, but it's very, very rare. But again, use the spread trick across the chain and then use the extrinsic value trick to really see, all right, what is the extrinsic value in this option? Forget about the bid, forget about the ask right now. Just look at the extrinsic value and that can really clue you in. So there you go. There's a couple of tools, a couple of tricks that you can use when you're trading something that is a little bit more illiquid. So maybe a SanDisk, maybe a Micron, maybe even a Meta. Like these are not the most liquid names in the world, but it is in the sandbox that everybody's playing in, especially in today's market with the memory stocks and all those kinds of things. So use the spreads across the chain, use the extrinsic value, but don't forget, the bread and butter is going to be the highly liquid names day in and day out. And I'll see you guys next time.